The president is pushing forward with his executive actions signed over the weekend, attempting to work around the logjam on Capitol Hill to help millions of Americans suffering financially from the coronavirus pandemic. But there are now questions over the legality of those measures. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Republican Senator Ben Sasse both called the actions unconstitutional. That prompted the president to claim Senator Sasse has gone rogue. Experts agree the actions could face legal hurdles. White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany defended the constitutionality of the president's actions earlier. She also said it's time for the Democrats to come back to the negotiating table.
School funding is very important, and he's been for second round of direct payments. So we encourage Democrats to really negotiate with us in good faith. So far, they have not done so. In fact, moving further away from us rather than towards us. Negotiations work by coming towards one another, and it's incumbent upon Democrats to do that.
Meanwhile, after an outcry of bipartisan criticism for possibly accepting the Republican nomination at the White House, the president offered another alternative site today. Gettysburg, the Civil War battlefield where some 50,000 Americans died in the Civil War and where Lincoln gave his famed address. The National Park Service says they know nothing of the president's plans. This all comes as the U.S. passed 5 million confirmed cases of COVID-19 on Sunday, the highest tally in the world. Meridith McGraw joins me now. She is a White House reporter for Politico. Hi there, Meridith. Welcome. So both Democrats and Republicans say that the president's executive orders are not legally sound. What exactly do these actions accomplish?
Well, over the weekend, President Trump signed 4 executive actions. There were 3 memorandum and 1 executive order in there that really gave the optics of progress, but it's really doubtful right now that the president using the power of the pen, if you will, is really going to accomplish much right now. The actions give $400 a week to unemployed Americans, but there's also the caveat that states are going to have to participate in this as well. And a lot of states are just really hit hard right now by the coronavirus pandemic, and they're concerned about their own budgets. It also offers deferrals for payroll taxes, federal student loans, and then a very vague memo that addresses the eviction moratorium and people who are unable to pay rent and mortgages. So there were some things that the administration was trying to push through with this, but it is incredibly limited. And there were questions about the legality of what they could do as the White House counsel's office was even preparing these executive actions. So there could be legal troubles that these face. And then, of course, there's still lots of unanswered questions. A lot of Americans are really facing incredibly dire financial situations right now. And what we saw get signed just isn't going to cut it for a lot of people.
Right. It was notable that during that White House briefing, Kayleigh McEnany was asked about when Americans would start seeing that $400. And as I understand it, Meridith, there was no timetable, no time frame.
Right. And we've heard mixed messages from the White House itself. One senior administration official said that people should start to see this money immediately. I believe Larry Kudlow said that it could be another of weeks. So there's questions even within the top ranks of the White House about when exactly people are going to see this money. Yeah.
So the White House says that it wants Democrats to continue negotiating on a deal, but how do these executive actions actually impact that process?
Well, the White House really wanted to put some negotiating pressure on Democrats with these executive actions. President Trump's advisors felt that he had sort of the upper hand here, that the president would be able to go out to the American public and say, look what I was able to do and accomplish here. And they also hope that that might even bring Democrats to the table so that they could tie up the rest of the loose ends and try to get a more substantial piece of legislation done from all of this. But right now, that does not seem to be like it's going to happen at any time in the near future. Of course, the president has not been directly involved in any of these talks. He's been on the phone with Mark Meadows, his chief of staff, and Treasury Secretary Mnuchin during all of this, but he's yet to sit down with Speaker Pelosi and Democratic Minority Leader Chuck Schumer during all of this. And while he said he'd be willing to talk to them, right now it just doesn't seem like there's pressure for them to be sitting down anytime soon. There was an interesting point somebody made today, though, and that was that the markets really didn't respond to a lot of this. And so there's even this external kind of pressure that's missing for them to sit down and tackle some of the things like how are they going to pay for schools to reopen, and how are people going to get more money in their pockets when they're falling short.
Right. All as Americans, as you point out, millions of people continue to be in these dire financial straits. I want to ask you about some of the public health messaging, Meridith. We know that the president continues to hold almost daily afternoon briefings, oftentimes announced that day, but we have not heard from the top health experts on the White House Coronavirus Task Force speak at a formal White House briefing in quite some time. What is the reason that the White House is giving for these briefings with just President Trump and not any members of the task force itself?
Well, the president's political advisors see this as a really good opportunity for the president to get out in front of the American people and to talk about what the administration is doing and what they plan to accomplish in terms of tackling this pandemic. They see this as a way for the president to get airtime and have the focus be solely on him. And especially right now when the president is unable to go to rallies and travel to a lot of political events, he's kind of limited in moments where he can answer questions, spar with the press, talk extemporaneously, and he's been using these moments at the podium to answer questions not only on the coronavirus, but of course on lots of other things as well. And his advisors love to see the president on TV, and the president likes to see himself on television as well.
Meridith, I want to turn to some of your reporting in Politico. You reported on the president's visit last week to the battleground state of Ohio. Remind us how critical Ohio is for the president's reelection prospects.
Well, the president won Ohio in 2016, but some of the recent poll numbers we've seen with him and Joe Biden have shown a tightening race there. And while the president himself said that he's not concerned about Ohio, I actually asked him about this during the trip when we were there. If the reason that he's going there is because there are concerns, he brushed that aside. But advisors do say that, you know, they can't take Ohio for granted at all. Some of the recent polling has shown Biden even with an edge. And they have to watch out for some of the more urban, suburban pockets of Ohio where they could see more Democrats come out and vote for Biden this time around. And the president went to a very blue-collar industrial pocket of the state. He went to a Whirlpool production plant where he talked about American manufacturing. That's something that's really important to the people in that area, making sure that manufacturing jobs are kept here at home. And so he wanted to go up and talk about that and highlight that. And I'm sure we'll see more of these official White House events happen to be planned in some of these battleground states. So he has an opportunity to talk to people there, even when it's with a White House visit.
And we'll see whether or not those messages resonate in this time of the pandemic. Meridith McGraw for us. Meridith, thank you very much.
Thank you.